I'm standing in the sterile waiting room of St. Mary's Hospital at 2 in the morning under flickering fluorescent lights that hum like dying insects when my phone vibrates in my pocket. I pull it out, expecting maybe a text from Rosa, the night nurse, telling me I can come back to see Aunt Marie. Instead, my screen lights up with a group chat notification. A thread I've never seen before. A thread titled, Estate Planning Final. My cousin Derek added me by mistake. And for the next 60 seconds, I watch my entire family reveal exactly who they are. The messages come rapid fire, one after another, and each one feels like a knife sliding between my ribs. Uncle Victor, the eldest, the one who always gave those tearful toasts about family loyalty at every reunion, types, "She's got maybe 3 months according to the hospice nurse. We need to move fast on the house before she tries to give it to charity or something stupid." My hands start shaking. I'm sitting 15 feet from Aunt Marie's ICU room, where she's recovering from a stroke. Tubes running from her arms, her silver hair spread across the pillow like a halo, and her own siblings are circling her like vultures. Derek sends a laughing emoji. Actually laughing. Remember when she said she'd leave everything to those who loved her? Guess we're all about to become very loving. Aunt Linda, my mother's older sister, the one who used to braid my hair at family picnics, responds without hesitation. "I already contacted that realtor. The house is worth $1.2 million now. Split 4 ways, minus whatever medical bills we can overlook." I screenshot every single message, my heart pounding so hard against my ribs I think it might crack through bone. My fingers are trembling so badly I almost dropped the phone. Uncle Victor types again, and this message makes my blood turn to ice. Marie never had kids, never married. That money should have stayed in the bloodline anyway. The bloodline. Like Aunt Marie is just a bank account with a pulse. Like the woman who saved my life is nothing more than a transaction waiting to close. My cousin Ashley, the youngest, the one I used to babysit, adds, "What about that niece who's always hanging around? Do we need to worry about her?" I stop breathing. They're talking about me. Victor's response comes immediately. "She's nobody. Not blood. Marie took her in after her parents died, but there's no legal tie. She gets nothing. Nobody. Not blood. Gets nothing." The fluorescent lights above me flicker and buzz, and I feel something cold and sharp crystallize in my chest. Something that will never melt. I stand up on legs that don't quite feel like my own and walk the 15 feet to Aunt Marie's room. She's sleeping, her breathing shallow and steady, monitors beeping softly in the darkness. The woman who took me in at 16 when I had nowhere to go. The woman who sat with me through panic attacks and graduations and every single birthday since my parents died. The woman who told me just last month, squeezing my hand with what little strength she had, "You're the daughter I never had. Everything I have is yours, legally and in my heart." I hear footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, confident footsteps. I slip my phone into my pocket just as Uncle Victor rounds the corner. He doesn't even look at Aunt Marie. He looks at me with cold, calculating eyes and says, "You should go home. Get rest. Family will take it from here." The dismissal in his voice is so casual, so absolute, like I'm a nurse being sent off shift. Like I'm nothing. I smile, I nod, and I leave. But I'm already forming a plan that will burn their greed to ashes. I sit in my car in the hospital parking lot and let myself cry for the first time in years. Ugly, gasping sobs that fog up the windows and make my chest ache. I'm 28 years old and the memory of my parents' funeral still feels like broken glass lodged in my throat. I was 16, a junior in high school. It was a Tuesday night when the police knocked on the door at midnight to tell me about the semi-truck that ran a red light on Highway 9. My mother died instantly. My father died in the ambulance. The family showed up to the funeral. Uncle Victor, Aunt Linda, the cousins. All black clothes and tight-lipped sympathy and hands on my shoulders that felt like weights. But when the will was read and they realized my parents had only debt and a rented apartment, they vanished like smoke and wind. I remember standing in the funeral home parking lot, watching their taillights disappear, knowing I had absolutely nowhere to go. The state was about to place me in foster care. I remember the social worker with the kind eyes and the clipboard telling me it would be temporary, that they'd find me a good home. But I could hear the lie in her voice. That's when Aunt Marie stepped in. She was 52 then. Never married. A retired art teacher living alone in her Victorian house on Maple Street with 3 cats and more paintings than furniture. The family mocked her behind her back. I'd heard the whispers my whole childhood. Marie and her cats. Marie and her paintings. Marie who never grew up. But she showed up at the social services office 3 days after the funeral with paperwork, with a spare bedroom already painted lavender, with tears streaming down her face. "You're not going into the system," she told me, gripping my shoulders so hard it almost hurt. "You're coming home with me." And she meant it. She taught me how to grieve without drowning, how to paint my feelings when words failed, how to laugh again when I thought I'd forgotten how. She paid for my community college classes out of pocket when financial aid fell through. She sat in the front row at my graduation 2 years later, cheering louder than anyone, holding a bouquet of sunflowers because she remembered they were my favorite. The rest of the family never visited, never called, except when they needed something. Victor borrowed $15,000 for his business 5 years ago. Never paid back a cent. Linda asked Marie to co-sign on a car loan, then defaulted 6 months later, tanking Marie's credit score into the ground. Derek lived in Marie's basement for 8 months rent-free, then left without saying goodbye and stole her grandmother's silverware on his way out. Marie knew. I found her crying in the kitchen the day she discovered it missing. But she never pressed charges, never demanded repayment, just quietly absorbed every betrayal with sad, knowing eyes. Their family. She'd tell me when I'd rage about their cruelty. Sometimes family disappoints you, but you don't stop loving them. I used to think she was too soft, too forgiving, but now I understand she was just heartbreakingly hopeful. 2 years ago, Marie was diagnosed with early-stage dementia and a heart condition. The doctor said it would be slow, that she had time, but we both knew what was coming. I moved back into the Maple Street house immediately, cooking her meals, managing her medications, driving her to appointments, sitting with her in the garden while she told me stories about my mother, about their childhood, about the life she'd lived. The family sent obligatory birthday cards, never visited, never called to ask how she was doing. Until 3 months ago. 3 months ago, the hospice nurse started coming. The decline became visible and real. Marie started forgetting names, forgetting dates, sleeping more than she was awake. And suddenly, like sharks smelling blood in the water, the family reappeared. Victor started texting about checking in. Linda was asking about important documents. The cousins were suggesting family meetings. I watched it happen in real time, this sudden performance of concern, and it made my skin crawl. Marie told me one lucid afternoon, holding my hand in her garden while the sun set golden through the trees. "I see them now. I see what they want. But I see you too. And you've already given me everything." She made me promise something that day. Made me swear to execute her will exactly as written, no matter what the family said, no matter how much they fought. I promised. I didn't know then what was coming. I didn't know she'd already set a trap for the wolves. Marie comes home from the hospital after 5 days, weaker but conscious, and the family descends on the house like locusts. Uncle Victor lets himself in with a key I didn't even know he had. Linda's right behind him, carrying a casserole no one asked for, wearing a concerned expression that doesn't reach her eyes. They set up camp in Marie's living room, speaking in loud, slow voices like she's a child, rearranging her furniture and her space without asking permission. "We're here to help," Victor announces to the room, but his eyes are scanning everything. The antique clock on the mantel, the paintings on the walls, the mahogany furniture. I can practically see him calculating values. I watch from the kitchen doorway as Linda starts asking Marie about her wishes and making things easier on everyone. Marie is exhausted, frail, barely able to keep her eyes open. She just nods weakly, and I see the predatory smiles spread across their faces like cracks in ice. Derek arrives the next day with a duffel bag, announcing he's moving in temporarily to help Aunt Marie. He takes over the guest room. My old room. The room Marie painted lavender for me 12 years ago. That night, I hear him on the phone through the thin walls, pricing out furniture and artwork with someone who's clearly an appraiser. Ashley, the youngest cousin, starts photographing every room of the house. "For memories," she says with a sad smile. But I know exactly what she's doing. She's documenting assets. Victor corners me in the hallway one evening, his voice low and cold. Marie needs family now. Real family. Maybe it's time you found your own place. I smile tightly. Say nothing. But inside, I'm memorizing every word. Every slight, every transparent act of greed. I'm building a case brick by brick. Linda starts bringing paperwork for Marie to sign. Thick stacks of legal documents that she tries to slide in front of Marie while she's tired and confused. One afternoon, I intercept a stack left on the kitchen counter. I flip through it and my blood runs cold. It's a hastily drawn power of attorney naming Victor as Marie's legal representative. I quietly remove the documents and watch Linda tear the house apart looking for them later that evening, claiming she misplaced something important. Marie's lawyer, Mr. Patterson, calls the house 2 days later. Victor answers. I hear him from the next room. Yes, this is Victor Reeves. I'm handling Marie's affairs now. She's not well enough to speak. The moment he hangs up, I call Patterson back from my cell phone. I step outside into the garden and explain everything. The sudden arrival, the paperwork, the power of attorney. Patterson's voice goes tight with alarm. They can't do this, he says. Marie's will is ironclad and you're the executor. Does she know what they're trying to do? She knows, I tell him, watching Victor through the window as he paces the living room. And she's ready. That's when things escalate. The family starts restricting my access to Marie, claiming I'm tiring her out, saying I don't understand how serious this is. Derek physically blocks me from Marie's bedroom one morning, arms crossed over his chest like a bouncer. She's resting, he says flatly. Family only. I want to scream that I am family, that I've been more family than any of them for 12 years. But I don't. I turn around, walk to my room, and pull out the secret phone I bought Marie last month. I text her, "Are you okay?" Her response comes 2 minutes later. Stick to the plan. Trust me, let them think they've won. Victor schedules a family meeting the next week. Doesn't invite me. I only find out because Rosa, Marie's daytime hospice nurse, overhears them planning it and quietly tells me in the hallway. The meeting happens in Marie's dining room on a Thursday afternoon. I sneak upstairs and press my ear to the heating vent that runs between the floors. Their voices rise up through the metal grate, clear as bells. They're dividing her estate right there, while she's still alive and sleeping 20 feet away. Victor gets the house. Linda gets the investment accounts. The cousins split the art collection and valuables. They've got it all figured out. They're talking dollar amounts and timelines and what to do with Marie's personal belongings. What about the niece? Ashley asks. She'll contest, obviously, Victor says, and I can hear the sneer in his voice. But we'll tie her up in probate for years. She can't afford a lawyer. She'll give up eventually. Linda laughs, cold and sharp. Marie was always so sentimental about her. It's pathetic, really. I record every word on my phone, my hands clenched so tight my nails draw blood from my palms. When the meeting ends and they leave, I go to Marie's room. She's awake, looking at me with clear, knowing eyes. She squeezes my hand and whispers, "They have no idea what's coming. You're going to make me so proud." Rosa, the hospice nurse, pulls me aside the next morning. She's a kind woman in her 50s who's seen everything in this job. I've seen families like this before, she warns me quietly. Document everything. Every conversation, every visit. They'll try to rewrite history when this is over. So I do. I start keeping a daily log. Every visit, every conversation, every attempt to isolate Marie or pressure her into signing documents. I write down dates, times, exact quotes. I'm building an archive of their cruelty. Derek gets drunk one night. I hear him bragging to Ashley in the living room, not knowing I'm in the next room with the door cracked. Once the old lady kicks it, I'm buying a boat. Finally gonna live a little. The cruelty becomes constant. Victor snapping at Marie to sign here when she's too tired to read. Linda sighing loudly about how much work this is, like Marie's dying is an inconvenience. No one reads to her. No one holds her hand. No one asks about her day. They're waiting for her to die. I continue my quiet vigil, painting with her in the afternoons when she has energy, playing her favorite jazz records, reading poetry aloud. Mary Oliver and Maya Angelou and Langston Hughes. Marie's condition stabilizes over the next week. She's still weak, still fading, but slower than expected. And I see the frustration flash across Victor's face when the hospice nurse says she might have months, not weeks. How much longer? He mutters under his breath, not realizing I'm standing right behind him. 2 weeks into this hell, Marie whispers to me late one night, "Call Patterson, tell him it's time. Tell him I'm ready for the final move." Mr. Patterson arrives at the house on a Wednesday morning, unannounced, with a leather briefcase and a determined expression I've never seen before. Victor tries to turn him away at the front door. "This isn't a good time," Victor says, blocking the entrance. "Marie is very ill and can't handle legal matters right now." Patterson brushes past him like he's made of air. "I'm not here for permission, Mr. Reeves. I'm here at my client's explicit request." The family gathers nervously in the living room. I can feel the tension crackling like electricity before a storm. Patterson sets up in Marie's bedroom with me, a notary, and a small folding table. Marie is sitting up in bed, and I notice something that makes my heart skip. She's lucid, clear-eyed, sharp in a way she hasn't been in days. I realize with a jolt that she's been conserving her strength, waiting for this exact moment. "Let's begin," she says, her voice weak but steady as steel. Patterson opens a file stamped, "Last Will and Testament Revised," in bold red letters. He explains that Marie updated her will 6 months ago, right when the family started sniffing around, right when she first suspected their intentions. Every asset, every account, every inch of the Maple Street house. Left entirely to me, with an airtight legal framework that would survive any challenge. But that's not the bombshell. Patterson pulls out a second document, thicker, more detailed. He looks at me and says, "Your aunt has spent the last year documenting every loan, every unpaid debt, every financial betrayal this family has committed against her." He reads them aloud. $15,000 from Victor, documented with signed loan agreements he'd apparently forgotten about. $8,000 from Linda, the co-signed car loan with bank statements proving Marie made every single payment after Linda defaulted. $12,000 in stolen property from Derek. The silverware, the jewelry, even furniture. All itemized with photographs, dates, and professional appraisals. "Your aunt is calling in every debt," Patterson says, looking directly at me. "And if they're not repaid within 30 days of her passing, she's prepared to press charges for theft and fraud." Marie turns her head on the pillow and looks at me with those fierce, loving eyes. "I need you to enforce this. No mercy, no forgiveness. Can you do that for me?" Tears are streaming down my face. Every single word. Patterson hands me a letter, sealed. Marie's handwriting on the front, to be opened after the family meeting. Then he calls the family into the bedroom. They file in slowly, suspiciously. Victor's face is already red. Linda looks nervous. Derek and Ashley hover by the door like they're planning an escape route. Patterson reads the revised will aloud. Every single word, every single dollar, everything to me. Victor's face goes from red to white to purple in the span of 10 seconds. Linda actually gasps, her hand flying to her chest. Derek looks like he might vomit. "This is insane," Victor roars, his voice filling the small bedroom. "She's not in her right mind. We'll contest this." Patterson remains perfectly calm. He's done this before. "Mrs. Thornton has been evaluated by 3 independent physicians over the past 6 months. She's fully competent. Every evaluation is documented and notarized. And if you contest, all documented debts will be immediately filed with the district attorney's office." Ashley starts crying. Derek punches the wall, leaving a dent in the drywall. Linda turns on me with pure venom in her eyes. "You manipulated her. You poisoned her against us. You're a leech." Marie's voice cuts through the chaos like a blade. Weak, but sharp. "I saw who you were years ago. I just hoped I was wrong. She didn't poison me against you. You showed me yourselves." The silence that follows is deafening. The family storms out, threats and curses echoing through the house. The front door slams so hard a picture frame falls off the wall and shatters. Patterson and the notary pack up quietly and leave. And then it's just me and Marie. She squeezes my hand. "Read the letter tonight. And remember, the final move isn't just about the money." That evening, Alone in my room with the door locked, I open Marie's letter with shaking hands. It's 3 pages, handwritten in her careful script. She details everything. How she'd noticed their coldness years ago, right after my parents died. How she'd watched them abandon me and realized what kind of people they were. How she'd quietly prepared for this moment, protecting me legally since I was 16. How she'd set up trusts and accounts and legal structures that would survive any challenge. But the last paragraph stops my heart. I've left instructions with Patterson for one final action after I'm gone. It will hurt them more than any lawsuit, more than any amount of money. Trust me, execute it exactly. The instructions are sealed in a separate envelope marked, "Open upon my death," in thick black letters. I sit with that envelope in my hands, feeling its weight, understanding that Marie has orchestrated something beyond my imagination, something I won't understand until she's gone. Rosa stops by the next morning for Marie's daily check. She pulls me aside in the kitchen and tells me something that changes everything. "Your aunt asked me to tell you something. She said, 'I'm not afraid. I'm excited to see what you'll do.'" And I realize this isn't just about revenge. This isn't just about money or justice or evening the score. This is about Marie, after a lifetime of being dismissed and used and taken for granted, finally taking back her power. And she's chosen me as the executor of not just her estate, but her dignity. Marie passes away peacefully 3 weeks later, on a Sunday morning with golden light streaming through her bedroom window, painting everything in shades of honey and amber. I'm holding her hand, reading Mary Oliver's Wild Geese aloud when she takes her last breath. Her lips curve into a small smile, and then she's gone. The family doesn't come to say goodbye. They're already consulting lawyers. The funeral is small. Me, Rosa, Mr. Patterson, a handful of Marie's former art students who loved her, and the family, sitting in the back row like spectators at a play, whispering to the slick lawyer in the expensive suit they've hired. I give the eulogy. My voice breaks as I describe the woman who saved me when I was 16 and drowning, who loved art and jazz and forgiveness until it nearly destroyed her, who taught me that family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up. I see Rosa crying in the front row. I see Patterson nodding. And I see Victor checking his watch. After the service, their lawyer approaches me in the parking lot. He hands me a lawsuit. They're contesting the will on grounds of undue influence and diminished capacity. I reach into my purse and pull out a USB drive. I hand it to him. Every text message, every recorded conversation, every documented threat and manipulation attempt. Everything. Please proceed with the contest. I'm looking forward to discovery. His face goes pale as he plugs it into his phone and starts scrolling. He pulls Victor aside. They have a heated, whispered argument. I watch Victor's face turn colors. Patterson announces the official reading of the will take place at his office in 3 days. Attendance is mandatory. Those 3 days are psychological warfare. The family calls me obsessively. Dozens of times a day, alternating between threats and desperate pleas. "You'll regret this. We can work something out. Marie would want us to compromise." I block every number. I focus on the sealed envelope I'm not allowed to open until the official reading. I hold it up to the light. I feel its weight, but I don't open it. The day arrives. Patterson's conference room is thick with tension. The family sits on one side with their lawyer. I sit alone on the other with Patterson beside me. The table between us feels like a battlefield. The will is read aloud. The house, worth $1.2 million. The investment accounts, $340,000. The art collection, professionally appraised at $180,000. All to me. Their lawyer starts to object, but Patterson cuts him off with a raised hand. "We're not finished." He opens a second document, Marie's full accounting of family debts. $47,000 total with interest calculated over the years. "These debts are now assets of the estate," Patterson explains in his calm, professional voice. "The executor has 30 days to collect or file criminal charges." Derek actually laughs, bitter and sharp. "She can't squeeze blood from a stone. We don't have that kind of money." "Then you'll face prosecution," Patterson says simply. Mrs. Thornton documented everything, including which crimes fall within the statute of limitations. Linda breaks down sobbing. Ashley stares at the table. Victor looks murderous. Then Patterson says, "There's one final provision." He hands me their sealed envelope. My hands tremble as I open it in front of everyone. The room is silent except for Linda's muffled crying. Inside is a single typed page and a thick folder of documents. I read the typed page aloud, my voice shaking. The Maple Street house will be donated to the foster care system and converted into a group home for displaced teenagers. Funding provided by the estate, named the Marie and Grace Thornton, Home for Second Chances. Grace, my mother's name. Marie is honoring both of us. The folder contains complete architectural plans, legal paperwork already drawn up, funding structures, operational budgets. She'd been planning this for over a year. "I don't get the house," I ask Patterson, confused. "You inherit everything else," he explains gently. "But she knew you'd want this more than the house. She was right, wasn't she?" I'm sobbing now. Ugly crying in front of the family who looks absolutely shattered. They'd been salivating over that house for months, dividing it up in their minds. And it's going to kids like me, kids who lost everything. Victor stands up so fast his chair tips backward and crashes to the floor. This is spite. This is pure spite. I find my voice, cold and clear. No, this is love, something you never understood. Patterson drops the final hammer. The family is barred from any involvement with the home. Any attempt to contact, visit, or interfere will result in immediate prosecution for harassment. Their lawyer closes his briefcase with a sharp click. I advise you to settle the debts and walk away. But I'm not done. I pull out my phone. I play the recording from their family meeting, the one where they divided Marie's estate while she was still alive. Their voices fill the conference room. Once the old lady kicks it, "She gets nothing." "Tie her up in probate." Ashley runs from the room. Linda covers her face with both hands. Victor's lawyer stands up and states flatly, "I'm withdrawing from this case effective immediately." I lean across the table and look directly at Victor. "You taught me something important. Family isn't blood. It's who shows up. And you never did." Patterson escorts me out as the family dissolves into recriminations and blame. I can hear them shouting at each other as we walk down the hallway. In the parking lot, I open the investment statements Marie left me. It's enough to pay off my student loans completely. Enough to buy a modest house. Enough to start the art therapy nonprofit I'd always dreamed of, but never thought possible. She'd known exactly what I needed, what I wanted, who I was, because she'd actually paid attention. That evening, I returned to the Maple Street house one last time before it's transferred. I walked through the rooms where Marie taught me to paint, to cook, to believe I deserved love. I run my fingers along the walls. I stand in her studio. I breathe in the smell of oil paints and turpentine and memory. I find a final note taped to my old bedroom door. The lavender room. Marie's handwriting. "You were always enough. Now go show them what enough looks like. I'm so proud of you. M." The family attempts to settle the debts 2 weeks later. Through their new lawyer, they offer $20,000 total and claim financial hardship. I refuse. It's the full amount plus interest or criminal charges. No negotiation. Derek sells his truck and his boat. Linda takes out a high-interest loan. Victor liquidates part of his business. Ashley borrows from her in-laws. The money comes in slowly, bitterly, over the course of 6 weeks. Each check feels like pulling teeth from a dragon. Necessary and deeply satisfying. I deposit every single check into the fund for the Marie and Grace Thornton home, growing its endowment. The family stops speaking to me entirely. I'm blocked on all platforms, erased from family trees, uninvited from future gatherings. I feel nothing but relief. The Maple Street house renovation begins 4 months after Marie's death. I attend the groundbreaking ceremony with Rosa, Patterson, and a local news crew covering the generous donation. The reporter asks me what Marie would think. I answer honestly. She'd say it took me too long to stand up for myself, and she's glad I finally did. 6 months later, the first 3 foster teens move into the home. 2 girls and a boy, all between 15 and 17, all carrying that hollow, haunted look I remember from my own face at 16. I volunteer there twice a week, teaching art therapy classes in the studio we built in what used to be Marie's painting room. One girl, Jasmine, 15 years old with sad eyes and talented hands, tells me during a painting session, "This place saved me. Whoever donated it must have been really loved." She was, I tell her, my throat tight. And she made sure that love kept going. I use Marie's investment money to start my nonprofit, Canvas and Courage, an art therapy program for trauma survivors. We operate out of a small office downtown. We serve kids and adults who've lost everything and need to find themselves again through creation. The remaining art collection, Marie's beautiful, haunting paintings of gardens and jazz musicians and abstract emotions, I donate to galleries and museums throughout the state. Each one has an explanatory plaque about her life and generosity. Her name spreads quietly through the art community. Marie Thornton, the teacher who gave everything to those who had nothing. I hear through mutual acquaintances that Uncle Victor's business struggles after the debt repayment, that he's bitter and isolated, that Linda and her husband divorce over financial stress from the loan she had to take. She blames me publicly on Facebook, writing long posts about manipulation and stolen inheritances. I don't respond. There's nothing left to say to people who chose greed over grief. Derek moves 2 states away. Ashley sends me one email 6 months later. An apology, but I can tell it's more about her guilt than my healing. I don't respond to her either. Some bridges aren't worth rebuilding. On the first anniversary of Marie's death, I hold a memorial at the group home. Current and former residents share stories. We paint canvases together. We play jazz music in the garden Marie would have loved. I read Wild Geese aloud, the poem I was reading when she passed. Afterward, a 17-year-old boy named Marcus approaches me. Tall and quiet with careful eyes. "I heard what your aunt did. Why'd she give all this away?" I think about it carefully before answering. Because she knew the best revenge against people who only see dollar signs is to turn those dollars into love. He nods slowly. "That's pretty badass, actually." "Yeah," I laugh through tears. She really was. I keep Marie's ashes in a beautiful ceramic urn I made myself, painted with sunflowers and musical notes and all the things she loved. Her presence feels less like loss now and more like a compass. Whenever I'm unsure about a decision, I ask myself, what would Marie do? The answer is always the same. Choose love, choose truth, choose the people who chose you. I'm dating someone now. A kind social worker named James, who I met at the group home. When he asks about my family, I tell him the truth. I don't have blood family, but I have Marie's legacy. I have the kids at the home. I have people who show up. That's enough. The legal battles are finally completely over. The family's contest was dismissed with prejudice. Patterson sends me the final paperwork with a note. Marie knew exactly what she was doing. She always did. It's been 2 years now since Marie passed. I'm standing in the garden of the Maple Street house on a warm summer evening. 8 teenagers live here now, safe and supported, learning that family is something you build, not something you're born into. I think about that night in the hospital waiting room when I read those text messages and felt my world crack open. I could have walked away, let them have the money, avoided the fight. But Marie taught me something more valuable than any inheritance. You don't let people who hurt you define your worth. The greatest revenge wasn't taking their imagined fortune. It was transforming their greed into something they could never understand. Generosity. Every kid who finds safety in this house is a living testament to Marie's final move. Every painting I create with trauma survivors is proof that broken people can heal. Every time I wake up in my own home, debt-free and purposeful, I'm proving that love is stronger than blood. I see Victor occasionally. At the grocery store. At the gas station. He looks older now. Smaller, angry at the world. And I feel nothing when I see him. That's the real victory. Not rage, not satisfaction. Just the quiet understanding that he's irrelevant to my life. Marie's final move wasn't about destroying them. It was about freeing me. She gave me permission to stop trying to earn love from people incapable of giving it. She showed me that the family who raised me wasn't the family I was born into. To anyone listening to this who's ever felt invisible in their own family, who's been used or dismissed or told they don't matter, find your Marie. Or become someone's Marie. Blood doesn't make you family. Showing up does. Choosing each other does. Fighting for each other does. And if they come circling when you finally have something worth taking, remember this. You don't owe cruelty your forgiveness. You owe yourself your freedom. Marie's grave is in the cemetery downtown, under an oak tree with a simple gray headstone. She loved fiercely and gave freely. I visit every Sunday with fresh flowers and stories about the home, about the kids, about the lives being changed. Sometimes I swear I hear her laugh on the wind, proud and mischievous. I told you, she seems to say. One final move. Always have one final move. So here's mine. I'm sharing this story not for pity, not for validation, but for every person who needs to hear it. You are not defined by the people who failed to love you. You are defined by how you rise after they knock you down. And sometimes the best revenge is building something so beautiful from the ashes that they can't even comprehend what they lost. If this story resonated with you, if you've walked this path or you're walking it now, you're not alone. Leave a comment about your own Marie, or about the person you wish you'd had. Share this if you know someone who needs to hear that they matter more than their family's dysfunction. And remember, when they think you have nothing left, that's when you reveal you've been planning all along. Thank you for listening to my story, to Marie's story, to the story of what love looks like when it refuses to be quiet. This isn't just a revenge story, it's a resurrection story. And I'm living proof that the best final move is the one they never see coming. Rest in power, Aunt Marie. Your niece is making you proud.